Before the police ever suspected a crime, Elena Reed had already disappeared. No screams, no witnesses, no forced entry. Just a quiet house, a phone left charging on the counter, and a town that would spend the next 18 months searching for answers while standing inches away from the truth. Because in this case, the most dangerous person wasn't hiding in the shadows. He was helping with the search. It began not with a scream, but with a silence. On the evening of October 12th, in the peaceful suburb of Oakwood Vale, Elena Reed finished a phone call with her sister at 9:42 p.m. She said she was going to her home office to finish some work. The family dog was let out. The porch light was on. It was a Tuesday like any other. By the next morning, she was gone. There was no forced entry, no sign of a struggle. Her purse and phone were left behind on the kitchen counter, still charging. The only thing missing was Elena herself. It was a vanishing that defied logic, leaving behind a vacuum of fear and a single paralyzing question. How does someone simply disappear from the center of their own life without leaving a single trace? Oakwood Vale was a town that prided itself on its safety. Elena's disappearance fractured that identity overnight. Search parties combed the riverbanks and wooded parks. Neighbors who once exchanged casual greetings now studied one another with quiet suspicion. The media descended, branding the mystery the Oakwood Enigma. At the center of the storm stood a small, shell-shocked group. Elena's family, her closest friends, and David Chen. David wasn't just a friend, he was Elena's former business partner and the neighbor who lived 3 doors down. He was the first to organize search grids. He brought casseroles to the family. He spoke calmly to reporters, his face etched with what everyone interpreted as genuine concern. In every interview, he seemed steady, reassuring even. To understand the investigation's blind spot, you must understand David Chen. 42 years old, a successful, if quiet, financial consultant, divorced amicably, no children. He was the neighbor who remembered birthdays, loaned tools, and kept his lawn meticulously trimmed. Detective Morales, the lead investigator, would later say he wasn't just on our good side, he was practically on the team. David provided timelines, suggested people Elena might have confided in. He even pointed out a rarely used trail behind the subdivision. His alibi was simple. He said he was home alone working on a client portfolio. His computer activity supported the claim. A food delivery timestamp placed an order at his address that evening. He was helpful, patient, transparent. The idea of David Chen as a suspect wasn't merely unlikely. To everyone involved, it felt logically absurd. As weeks turned to months, reality itself seemed to resist explanation. Every lead collapsed under scrutiny. The estranged brother had an airtight alibi. A disgruntled client was out of state. A random abduction left no forensic trace. The theory of a secret life went nowhere. Elena's digital footprint was almost painfully ordinary. Detective Morales and his team reached a wall of pure negation. No evidence of a struggle meant no evidence at all. The case was transferred to the cold case unit, a bureaucratic phrase that quietly signaled the end of momentum. Hope hardened into grief. Oakwood Vale learned how to live with its unanswered question. And David Chen? He sent the family a card on the 1-year anniversary of Elena's disappearance. A final, kind gesture from a man everyone pitied for having lost his friend. What no one realized was that the case wasn't truly cold. It was simply waiting for the right eyes. 18 months later, clerk Sarah Morani was assigned to digitize old cold case evidence logs. It was routine work, administrative, unglamorous, mechanical. One afternoon, she opened box 237. Inside was the echo of Oakwood Vale. As she scanned a log of network activity from the subdivision's private security server, a long shot that had gone nowhere during the original investigation, her finger paused on a single line. A system administrative login. User C-admin_backup. Duration 47 seconds. Time 10:03 p.m. October 12th. On its own, it meant nothing, the digital equivalent of someone turning on a utility light. Except Sarah had grown up in Oakwood Vale. She remembered Elena Reed, and she remembered something else. Buried in a technical document was a protocol note. C_admin_backup was a fail-safe credential. It was only meant to be used if the primary system administrator was unavailable. That role belonged to the HOA's contracted IT firm, a firm owned by David Chen. More importantly, the backup login could only be accessed from the contractor's downtown office, but this login didn't originate there. The system recorded its source. It came from inside the community server room itself, 17 minutes after Elena's final phone call. Sarah felt her blood run cold. It wasn't evidence of a crime. It was evidence of a ghost, someone who knew exactly how to make themselves invisible. Presented with this anomaly, the cold case detective saw the first real crack in the facade. David Chen was brought in for another interview. Calmly, they asked him to recount his evening once more. He repeated the story without hesitation. Then the detective slid the network log across the table. "Can you explain this, David?" For the first time, something flickered, a micro-expression, panic, quickly suppressed. David claimed it was a system error, but the lock had already been turned. Once the timeline cracked, everything else followed. The food delivery alibi was re-examined. This time, the driver remembered something different. Shown updated photos, he recalled leaving the food at the door of David's darkened house, not handing it to him. David could have been anywhere. A forensic audit of David's finances, previously dismissed as irrelevant, uncovered cascading losses in high-risk investments, losses hidden from clients. Elena had discovered them. She planned to confront him the next day. Motive. The 47-second login was the cover. He deleted a single piece of footage from the community cameras, a wide-angle shot that might have captured movement near his backyard gate. He erased the video, but overlooked the system's internal audit trail. The final piece was physical. With a new warrant, police searched a locked storage unit registered under David's mother's name. Inside were ordinary items, boxes, tools, seasonal decorations, and among them a dirt-stained gardening trowel. On its handle, nearly invisible, were Elena's initials, a gift from her husband years earlier. The one thing David couldn't bring himself to destroy. The arrest was as quiet as the crime itself. No chase, no spectacle. David Chen was taken into custody while mowing his perfectly manicured lawn. Oakwood Vale reeled. The man who had shared their fear, who organized their searches, was revealed as the source of it all. His empathy was reinterpreted as narcissism, his helpfulness as calculation. Detective Morales later said it felt less like catching a criminal and more like discovering a flaw in the lens through which they had all viewed the world. The kind neighbor had never existed. He was a performance, maintained right up until the moment the cell door closed. David Chen accepted a plea deal, revealing the location of Elena's remains and sparing her family a trial. He offered no explanation, only a brief statement of remorse read by his attorney. Oakwood Vale has healed, but it no longer sees itself the same way. The case was solved not by brilliance, but by persistence, by a clerk, a forgotten log, and a 47-second digital heartbeat inside a silent machine. It is a reminder that the most dangerous secrets are not always hidden in darkness. Sometimes they live in plain sight,
protected by our own willingness to trust what looks familiar. All it takes is one detail, one wrong note in an otherwise comfortable melody for everything to change. This case wasn't solved by intuition or instinct. It was solved by a single overlooked detail, 47 seconds of data that refused to disappear. In the end, Oakward Vale didn't just lose its sense of safety, it lost its certainty about the people it thought it knew. And if there's one lesson this story leaves behind, it's this: danger doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it smiles, offers help, and waits for us to stop looking closely. If stories like this matter to you, stories where truth hides in plain sight, you're in the right place.